Good morning, San Francisco! Give it up, everyone, for MJ's Brass Boppers. And hello to the world live streaming today's event. This is an epic, iconic morning, and we are so grateful for all of you to be here. Let's give it up also for Lucille. I mean, of course, we had to have an animal icon introduce another animal icon of San Francisco Bay, right? Thank you so much for being here. Love you so much. All right, welcome everybody to Claude Forever. This is a day where we are celebrating, we are reflecting, we are basking in the joy of this icon of our city. Not to mention, we are also sharing our memories, reflections, and paying tribute, because Claude was everything represented in our city. Now, my name is Dion Lim, and I am so grateful to be part of today's memorial because I know so many of you have personal memories and personal stories of Claude and how he touched your life. If I could share this with all of you, my family comes to the Academy at least twice, sometimes 3 times a week, because I have a 2.5-year-old. He is somewhere in the audience today with my husband, and believe it or not, because of Claude, as a 2.5-year-old, when it came time, his first word was mom, and then dad, and one of his first words was Claude. Can you believe that? How can a 2.5-year-old understand that being different is okay? He also knows what albino is, so that's all thanks to this beautiful creature. How many of you have memories like this? How many of you remember coming to the Academy as a child, bringing your own children, coming here on a field trip? And you know what it's like when you are a little bit different and a little bit unique, but can capture the hearts of so many around the world. Now we have an incredible program for all of you today, including remarks from our city representatives. We have stories from Cal Academy leaders. We have a poetry reading from a phenomenal young woman, more music, and a second parade by MJ's Brass Boppers. We have a Claude costume showcase. How many of you have costumes on right now? I like seeing all the white in the crowd. We have a Reading Rainbow host, face painting, and so much more on tap. But first, I would love to introduce all of you to the host of the PBS Kids Dinosaur Train and also Executive Director of the California Academy of Sciences. This person has had the pleasure of seeing and working with Claude every single day. Please give it up for maybe the best dressed guy on this stage, none other than Dr. Scott Sampson.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today to celebrate the life and legacy of Claude, the albino alligator. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, or forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone community, and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Next, I would like to warmly acknowledge several government officials who've joined us here today. Maybe you could just raise your hands as I mention your name. California State Senator Scott Wiener, Assemblymember Catherine Stefani, Assemblymember Matt Haney, District 7 Supervisor Myrna Melgar, California Natural Resources Agency Deputy Secretary Megan Hertel, San Francisco Environment Director Tyrone Jew, who just came in, San Francisco Rec and Park Interim General Manager Sarah Madlin. Is Sarah here? Okay. And Recreation and Parks Commissioner Sonia Clark Herrera. I also want to give a very big shout out to the entire Recreation and Parks staff who keep Golden Gate Park so beautiful. Many thanks, yes, absolutely, that is worthy of applause. Many thanks also to all of the partner organizations, some of whom are around here, who kindly offered their talents and services, helping to make this a wonderful community event. I'd also like to warmly acknowledge my bosses, the California Academy of Sciences Board of Trustees, several of whom are here today, including John Dwyer, the chair of the board. And then finally, a huge thanks to the entire Cal Academy staff, and in particular, the Steinhardt Aquarium team who took such great care of Claude. In total, more than 22 million visitors had the opportunity to be enchanted by Claude during his lengthy tenure at Cal Academy. A large proportion of those visitors were children who grew up coming to visit San Francisco's famous white alligator, and some of them grew up to bring their own kids here. The past year, millions of additional folks around the world welcomed this astonishing reptile into their homes through the Claude Cam, launched with support of the AI company Anthropic. Now, over the weeks since Claude's passing, we have received a veritable outpouring of heartfelt messages, artworks from fans all over the world. It's been quite remarkable. I've been thinking about this, and in retrospect, I think Claude's popularity rooted in a surprising superpower. Arguably more than any other alligator, past or present, Claude had the uncanny ability to connect people with nature. How did he manage this feat? Well, as a 10-foot-long, 300-pound albino alligator, he could stop people in their tracks and capture their attention. He inspired children and adults alike to slow down, take a breath, and look outside themselves. Many of those people experienced feelings of awe, the sense of mystery that blurs the boundaries between self and other. They were compelled to imagine Claude's inner world, to see him as worthy of compassion and perhaps passion. In this way, Claude continually reminded us that we are a part of, not apart from, nature. The swelling of public emotion that's embodied here today shows how far our collective moral imagination has traveled in recent years. A city doesn't pause for objects, it pauses for lives that mattered. If we can learn to grieve an alligator as a someone, we might also learn to protect the places that make alligators and the broader web of life possible in the first place. So, I would like to cordially invite all of you to carry on Claude's legacy by caring fiercely for nature and by joining us at Cal Academy in our mission to regenerate the natural world, beginning right here in our spectacular Bay Area backyard. Thank you all very much once again, everybody. We appreciate you being here today.
Beautiful, beautiful words by Dr. Sampson. I don't know, you have a future maybe in running for politics, right? With words like that. Truly one of the coolest jobs and one of the coolest people that I know. Now, moving on, I would also like to bring up and recognize someone who has represented our city and much of California. Please welcome to the stage now, Senator Scott Wiener.
Thank you, Dion. Good morning, everyone. And Claude, rest in peace. When we think about what happened here, Claude's life and his passing, it really touched a nerve in San Francisco and beyond. And so you may wonder, why would the death of one alligator touch that nerve and cause such an incredible outpouring of emotion and love? And I think it's for two reasons. First, when you look at who Claude was, he didn't fit the standard mold of an alligator. He was a little bit of a quirky alligator, different, marched to his own drummer, looked a little different, acted a little different. And that, in so many ways, is what San Francisco is about. This is a place where we take people as they are. We welcome people. We understand that people are different and they sometimes are quirky, and we love them just as much. And that is so much of the San Francisco spirit. And San Francisco, of course, we are quirky sometimes as a city, and we march to our own drummer. And sometimes people laugh at us around the world, and then, of course, 5 years later, they're doing what we're doing. But so Claude represents that spirit of what San Francisco is. But the other piece of it is that for millions and millions of people, when they entered the California Academy of Sciences, one of the first things they saw and interacted with was Claude. And so Claude represents Cal Academy. And what Cal Academy represents is something that we love in San Francisco, which is called science. And science, you know, and I had always assumed that everyone likes science. Who could not like science? Of course, we're seeing that some people now may not be fans of science, and they're trying to tear apart the federal science agencies and cutting science funding for cancer research or Alzheimer's research or climate research or whatever the case may be. We're fighting hard to push back against that. But Cal Academy, with its spokesperson, Claude, represents the opposite of that, that science is what makes the world a better place. It makes people healthier. It is so important, and it is part of San Francisco's DNA. So Claude, we love you, we miss you, but we know you are smiling down on us, and that we're gonna make the world a better place. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Senator Wiener. I mean, come on, there is a giant 8-foot-long sourdough Claude. You want to talk about quirky or what? We know you love it. And I don't know, Scott, do you think you are longer or taller than Claude was long? Just a little bit, maybe, just a little bit. All right, I would like to now take a moment to introduce our next speaker, who is a phenom in her own right. This is an individual who is a young woman, just 17 years old, and she has really taken into heart the memory of Claude. She attends St. Ignatius. She is part of the city's Youth Poet Laureate cohort and part of the nonprofit group Allied 826 Valencia. This group helps young people with their writing skills. She has so many fond memories of Claude. Please give it up now for our poet of the day with her inspired poem, Sasha Miller.
Thank you, Dion, for that lovely introduction. I'm so honored to present my poem about Claude, to whom I have very fond memories of. Claude. He was never just an alligator. That word was never enough. It cannot hold the years, the waiting, the weight of what he became to us. While the city fractured and reassembled, renamed itself, raised its voice, Claude remained where water slowed, a constant in the undertow of noise. Decades passed across his back, elections, earthquakes, loss, rebirth. Fog, faithful as death, settling the edges of the earth. Children pressed their hands to glass, learning reverence without a guide. They left, they changed, they returned again, bringing others to his side. People learned how to wait for him, to stand in stillness, unafraid, to trust that motion would arrive only when it chose to wake. In that waiting, curiosity deepened. Wonder learned how not to rush. He taught us patience by remaining longer than our need for touch. He did not move to be remembered. He did not rise to claim a role. Stillness was his quiet labor. Patience, the language of his soul. Difference lived within his body, visible, undeniable, true. Not something to correct or hide, but something held and valued too. In a city that shelters the uncommon, that gathers what the world lets go, Claude became its living emblem, proof that care can let things grow. He's our witness through the years, our calm amid the shifting ground, a silent guardian of endurance in a place forever found and found. Now the water feels less anchored. The pause he offered feels exposed. Yet love does not vanish with a body. It stays, it gathers, it holds. Claude is gone from where we meet him, but not from what he came to mean. Our city carries forward his lesson. Protect what is rare and let it remain. Thank you very much.
Woo! Who else has chills listening to those words? Unbelievable. And to be so young and to be able to write so beautifully. Once again, please give it up. Now I'd like to introduce to the stage someone who has been a constant in many events across California. None other than somebody who also is dressed up in her Claude colors today. Assemblymember Catherine Stephanie.
Thank you, Dion. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see you. And I have to say, I am a mom, and to see all these kids out here is just wonderful. And believe it or not, I am the first mother that San Francisco has ever sent to the California State Legislature. So it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. And today, San Francisco says goodbye to Claude. For 17 years, Claude quietly held court just inside the doors of the California Academy of Sciences, asking nothing of us except that we slow down, look closely, and share a moment of wonder. And we did. Millions of us did. Families planned visits around him. School children pressed their hands to the glass. Staff members built their daily routines around checking on him. My own two children, who are now 21 and 16, grew up going to the Academy of Sciences. And like so many other kids, they grew up with Claude. We watched him together on school days and weekends, on rainy afternoons and sunny mornings. Sometimes he was perfectly still, sometimes barely visible, sometimes right there on his rock. And every time, he was the same steady presence, teaching my children without words about curiosity, about respect for living things, and about the joy of simply observing the world as it is. In a city full of icons, Claude became one of the most beloved without ever seeking the spotlight. Claude was not loud or flashy. He didn't perform on cue. He basked when he felt like basking, floated when he felt like floating, and reminded us, especially in a city that moves fast, that presence itself can be powerful. Born an albino alligator, Claude entered the world marked as different and vulnerable. What could have been a disadvantage became, here in San Francisco, a point of celebration. The city of misfits and originals recognized him as one of our own. His different wasn't hidden or corrected, it was honored. Behind the glass was an animal. But on this side of it, something special happened. Claude brought people together. He sparked curiosity. He made science feel personal and alive. He showed us what ambassador animals can do, how one life, well cared for, can deepen our respect for the natural world and for each other. Claude lived a good life, a long life, a deeply loved life. And now the swamp is quieter, but the mark he leaves on the city is anything but small. Rest easy, Claude. Thank you for the calm, the wonder, and the joy. San Francisco will miss you. Thank you.
Catherine Stephanie, everyone, thank you for sharing your heartfelt stories and your memories. I know so many of you have those memories, and I've heard from many of you as we are getting ready for today. And so many of you didn't even knew Claude was real. Many of you would pass by and say, he's not moving. It's just funny hearing how everyone has been touched in so many different ways. Now to someone who has a lot of stories, because this next speaker is our senior director for the Steinhardt Aquarium and very well acquainted with Claude. In fact, he is the only person on this stage, I think, who has actually been inside Claude's swamp. I tried to go into Claude's swamp to shoot a video, and they shut me down real fast. So please, welcome everyone, Bart Shepard.
Thank you, everybody, and wow, what a view, what a beautiful day, and thank you all for being here to celebrate with us the life of this majestic toothy reptile, Claude the albino alligator. Now, for 17 years, Claude was a resident of the swamp, but he was not the first alligator in our swamp. When the Steinhardt Aquarium opened its doors in 1923, one of the centerpieces of the architecture was this alligator swamp, and when we rebuilt this building in 2008, we wanted to bring that back. We brought back the bronze seahorse railing, the historic tiles, and the alligators down below in the pit. And we did that because we knew that there were generations of people who grew up here coming and leaning over that seahorse railing and looking down and being inspired by the alligators. And we wanted to give that gift back and have those people be able to bring their grandchildren and see those same sort of animals and have that same experience some decades later. Now, I'll never forget the day that Claude arrived. It was August of 2008, and although the museum wasn't open yet, most of the staff had already moved into the building. And Claude and his sort of short-term co-resident, Bonnie, and a rather ornery 6-foot-long eastern diamondback rattlesnake had been driven all the way across the country by an animal transport specialist in the back of a pickup truck, all the way from Florida. And the staff, the word had gotten out that the alligators were coming, and the staff were all waiting. On the bridges and the walkways behind the swamp, were lined up with dozens of people hoping to get a glimpse of this newest resident arriving at the California Academy of Sciences. And I'll never forget, he was in a plywood box, and when we popped open that crate and pulled out onto the concrete floor, there was this collective gasp across the staff. It was wonder and awe and curiosity, this remarkable creature that had arrived. Now, my favorite story, I think, about Claude over the 17 years is about the time that he ate a shoe. So our veterinarian, Dr. Freeland Dunker, came down to my office, knocked on the door to tell me this, that Claude had eaten a shoe. And I asked him, well, what kind of a shoe? And he said, we don't know. And so I said, why don't you go out onto the public floor and walk around and see if you can find somebody that only has one shoe and take their other shoe so we know what we're working against. He said, that's a good idea. And I think he enlisted some security guards, and they went around the museum, and they found this poor 12-year-old girl who was walking around with one shoe, and they told her we needed her other shoe. We took it, and we left her to continue her visit in her bare feet. Well, the shoe was sort of a ballet flat, and it had a pretty thick rubber sole on it. And so we were worried that Claude wouldn't be able to pass it through, that it might block up and get stuck in there and cause a problem. So we knew we had to deal with it, and we knew we had to deal with it pretty quickly. And as you can imagine, this is no small undertaking, right, to get a shoe out of an alligator. First we had to gather all the necessary equipment. We borrowed some special grabbers that were developed at Northwestern University to pull weather balloons out of dolphins and whales that had swallowed them. So we had those shipped in. We had to secure an anesthesiologist to come in and work with us. Then we had to coerce Claude into a crate, use a crane to lift him up out of the swamp, get him down into the basement to our medical facilities, get him under anesthesia. There were probably about 15 people maybe working on him, 3 vets, 3 or 4 people sitting on his back, people working the endoscope, people working the anesthesia, and the fire alarm goes off. And our veterinarian, Freeland Dunker, looks up and he says, "Nobody leaves." So I have to say in a public setting like this that if you're in a building and a fire alarm goes off, you absolutely should leave and follow every emergency procedure and the direction of the personnel that are set in place. But this was sort of extenuating circumstances, right? We had a several hundred-pound alligator under anesthesia. We had endoscope and grabbers inside him, and we were trying to get this shoe. And we had just moved into the academy, and there's a very sophisticated fire system in that building. We were still working out the kinks, right? We had regular sort of false alarms. So we had a pretty high degree of confidence that it was not a real fire. So most people stayed and worked on Claude to continue to try and get the shoe out. Several of us, myself included, went out onto the public floor and helped get the guests up and out the back of the building. And we got out to the back of the building, and we're waiting out there at the spot where we all congregate in an alarm. And I got a call on the radio, and it said, "We got the shoe, and here's the shoe." And if by chance that young lady who only had one shoe that day is here, I would love to meet you. And no, you can't have your shoe back. So last April, we had some changes in staffing and sort of a little bit of a structural change, and that opened up an opportunity for me to start to work directly with the swamp team, with the biologists that help care for Claude. And what that meant for me is that almost every Wednesday morning at 8:30 in the morning, I would climb down a ladder. I would be the first one into the swamp, and I was in charge of what's called the shield pole, right, which is basically like a 6-foot-long broomstick with a flat plate on the end of it. And my job was to climb down in there with the shield pole and hold that shield pole right sort of off the front of Claude's nose while the rest of the staff came in. And I was the first line of a defense in case of the highly unlikely scenario that Claude lunged up out of the water and tried to chomp somebody. So that gave me the privilege of a couple of different things. The first was working directly with this animal, right, which I'm more of a marine biologist. I study fish and coral, and so to have the opportunity to spend several months working closely with a big alligator, that was exciting and new, and I got to learn a lot, and I got to spend time watching this animal, an amazing animal, and his behavior. But more importantly, it gave me the opportunity to work closely with this team of people, the swamp team, and watch them do extraordinary things with animals that probably most people don't think are very smart, right? So they had Claude on a good day. He could call his name and tell him, "Claude, home." and he would swim over to a specific spot in the swamp, and he would touch his nose to a rock in a very specific spot in order to get fed. And at the same time, they would have 3 snapping turtles in another part of the habitat swim to visual targets, these little like signs, and place themselves there so that they could all be fed and their food could be monitored. And another person would be working with 2 fish, what are called gar, these little slender, skinny fish that are in there, and have them come and feed at a 3rd spot with tongs. And it's remarkable to watch what this behavioral training and this highly effective animal care team was able to do in that exhibit. And I also got to watch them support each other, right? And during very difficult times, when it became apparent that Claude was not doing well and there was something going on, they helped each other through a period of great worry and stress. And then when he died, they helped each other through a period of time where there was shock and grief about the loss. And now they're helping each other recover from that. So it was a gift, unexpected gift, but a gift for me to be able to spend the last 8 months or so working so closely with that team and with that remarkable animal. So I want to acknowledge the Steinhardt Aquarium staff for the work that they do 365 days a year to care for every animal and every plant in that building. Yeah, thank you. And I want to thank all of you for being here today to help us celebrate the life of this incredible animal. Thanks.
Thank you for your leadership. Everybody give it up for Bart. If I can, I'm going to go off script for just 30 seconds because come back up here. I think we all have more questions about this shoe, don't we? Have you been keeping this shoe just in a jar, in a box? Tell me more.
No, the shoe actually lives down in our vet hospital. We have a bunch of different artifacts like that we save that are special historical artifacts. Yeah.
I also thought it was a little girl, but this is like a full-sized shoe. You must have so many other stories. I hope you are writing a book or jotting these memories down. Thank you once again. How do you follow up those stories, right? Okay, we have another special guest. We have District 7 Supervisor Myrna Mallar coming up, along with San Francisco's Rec and Park Commissioner Sonia Clark Herrera. Please welcome.
Hello, San Francisco. Welcome to Golden Gate Park. What a beautiful day. I am Myrna Mallar, the supervisor for District 7, and we're in District 7 right now. Many of you were with us a few weeks ago when we celebrated Claude's Hatch Day. We had a shrimp-flavored cake that was brought down to him that he chomped very promptly. It was super fun. I'm so glad that we had that. Thousands of people came out that day to celebrate Claude. Senator Wiener said he was the embodiment of San Francisco values. A few years ago, we picked the parrots, the feral parrots of San Francisco, to be our San Francisco city animal. And what those two have in common, the parrot and Claude, is that they were hatched and born in different climates, but immigrated to San Francisco, and we adopted them and we took care of them, and they were ambassadors to the natural world and taught our children to embrace what's different, to take responsibility for those who need to be in a home that loves them, and to support them to thrive. And that is who we are in San Francisco. And right now that we're living in a time when science is being underestimated, that science is being rejected, that people who are different are being rejected, we in San Francisco hold true to our values, to be those that are responsible in love and set a home for those who need us to thrive. And it was us and Claude. We are going to remember him always. But I have something really important to tell you. Come on, Sonia. So something that we did at the Board of Supervisors just this past week is that I introduced a resolution asking the Recreation and Parks Department to rename the street right in front of us after Claude. And the commission voted to approve it. So it will be renamed Claude the Alligator Way. Thank you, Sonia.
Absolutely.
And you want to say a few words?
Yes, just quickly. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here in Golden Gate Park to celebrate Claude, our most recognizable and absolutely adored and beloved reptile. I'm so honored to be here on behalf of the San Francisco Rec and Parks Commission, and so very grateful to our partners at Cal Academy for putting on this beautiful celebration of life. Claude's a park icon who, as we've all heard today, knew how to draw attention without doing very much. And yet, he did so much. His presence helped connect millions of visitors to wildlife, to conservation, and to the natural world in ways that felt both approachable and memorable. Our parks are places of discovery, learning, and connection to nature and to each other. Honoring Claude here reflects those values and the role Golden Gate Park plays in creating shared experiences for San Franciscans and visitors from around the world. Earlier this week, as Supervisor Melgar noted, the Recreation and Parks Commission approved the commemorative naming of Claude the Alligator Way. This stretch of park was chosen with strong public support because the Cal Academy is where so many people encountered Claude as part of their experience in Golden Gate Park. With this commemorative naming, Claude's legacy becomes part of the park's landscape and story. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Claude.
And here we have the sign itself. Everybody give it up for the unveiling of Claude Way. Please, everyone on stage, let's take a photo, group photo, everybody. All right, as everybody is taking this photo, I do want to remind everyone that we have a huge schedule of events. We have a Claude costume contest. We have so much going on, a story time. I'll let everyone come on up if you want to take a photo. We have Vanita Louie on the Parks and Rec Commission with her two stuffy Claudes. We also have MJ's Brass Boppers coming up to lead the second line processional. That'll be coming up as well. Oh yeah, did you get your library card?
Oh, no, I gotta get my wait, is it right over here?
There is a special library card that you can actually obtain today with Claude's picture on it, a limited time edition event. All right, I'll give everyone just another moment to get all of their photos. Don't be shy. You can come up right to the front of the band shell and get all of the images of Claude the Alligator Way. Thank you so much for making it happen, everybody. A reminder, we also have story time by the Fountain with Reading Rainbow host Michael Threets and SF Drag Laureate Persia at 12:45. We also have a Claude photo booth that is available to anyone who is interested, getting those moments for everyone. And we have San Francisco Fire Department with a fire truck for all of the kiddos.
Yeah? Another one?
Here we go, MJ's Brass Boppers. Give it up one more time, everybody.